So you just started playing Fate Grand Order, one of the best anime mobile game ever, totally. And you've been through the start of the game, and now you're probably wondering what to do. Well, this is a perfect guide for you because you're a Unga Bunga, wondering what you're going to do with this game. Well, when you start off, you have a choice out of these 10 characters, and there's only one character that is correct for every single player who just want to turn their brain off and just hit hard. Heracles is the best option for everyone who just want to turn off their brain and just hit hard and just go quickly through the game. Well, mainly because he's a berserker, and according to the game, berserker does 2 times damage to everyone. Well, except for foreigner, but then you barely have them in the game anyway. So with a total of like around 4 foreigners and only one of them being in the main series, or well, main timeline and not like event, you barely have any occurrence, well, like meet occurrence with them, so not that much of an issue. But when you do, don't use berserker and use like a foreigner or an alter ego, where in this case berserker is not useful and just deal half the damage. Another exception being shooter, but then you don't fight shooter. You have a shooter as a support, and the only shooter that's in the game is your shooter. Basically, you won't fight any shooter. But Heracles' stat itself is actually pretty good for a 4-star, of course. His attack, he have a very high attack. If you consider in the type advantages. But on the contrary of his type advantages, he also take double the damage, which means that his health is a bit on the lower end of the spectrum. With his normal leveling, you will only get up to around 10,655 for his attack, and roughly 10,000 for his health, which that's through normal leveling. And then if you grill, you'll get more than that. With another option for increasing his attack and his health, of course, is to use Foe. I actually don't know how to pronounce the name, Foe, whatever, but it's just way to explain that you can increase his health and his attack by 2,000 each. Of course, with his low HP being one of the most difficult thing to work around, there are something that, well, his skills basically that can help out with this issue. 2 main skills that will help out with his low HP issue is 1, After Mind Falls, which allows him to basically dodge every single attack coming for 1 turn, and he will take no damage unless there are skill that would like actually hit, but then you don't see that much, or at least I don't see anyway, because mostly I'll just see Pierce Invul, because that's a lot more common than the target hit thing. But then there's also his other skill, Battle Continuation A, which would have a skill up later on in like a few years. And the prominent thing about this skill is that it revives Heracles basically, which can be triggered at more or less any time if it's a finished cooling down, of course. And it is helpful for Heracles because if an enemy actually hit, Heracles died, their turn most of the time their turn will be end already, and then he'll be revived, which is a useful skill when a character like Heracles who have a fairly low HP to begin with. But of course, there's another method to actually help Heracles out with his issue, is that you actually have support character with the most Buster meta support team. I'll explain later on what Buster, Quick, and Arts are in the future and what kind of meta are usually happening. But so what happens that Heracles is considered the Buster meta, so this is the best team up, with obviously having Waver and Merlin being the support and Heracles being the attacker. And of course, this is the most brain off method out of all starting method, which is the easiest one for most beginners to just get on with the story. Like, if you just want to go and care about gameplay and just want to go on with the story, this is the easiest, well, in my opinion, of course, way to get it, since Heracles does double the damage and does a lot of damage actually. So yeah, this method is actually best for like single target kind of boss fight, as its pros, of course, because Heracles have a single target no phantasm. I'll explain this some other time in the future, but that's this team upsides, that it's best for mostly for single target attacker, but of course it can clear different kind of wave, but it's not recommended, of course, mainly because of Heracles' low HP, and for beginner trying to use a lot of guts is not possible, even with Merlin's invisibility. Explain that later on in the future. And Waver's defense, and it's not the best option for new starters to actually use Heracles for multiple kind of wave clearing, unless of course it's like first arc of the story where you don't deal with too much, like, you know, like two gouge, and then you don't have too many waves of enemy. But of course, if at that point you'll just be rolling gacha already and you won't have too much issue with this. But yeah, that's more or less it. That's like one of the easiest way to just bring it off and fight in Fate Grand Order. Yeah, that's it. Bye.